episode of Start to Finish. I'm an illustrator and I like to draw all these cute little characters on pieces of paper and exchange them for money, currency, or other pieces of paper. Today I'm going to be drawing Claptrap. Claptrap is a very cute character from the Borderlands series, sort of a droid robot. He's an integral part of the story, kind of guides you along in both games. You follow his lead, and he's the one who introduces the quests to you and kind of teaches you how to play the game along the way. So I'm laying down some of the base framework. I have a reference off camera that I'm looking at, a very nice little piece of reference I found on the interwebs, and just laying in some of the base sketches, simple shapes, working in some of those different details into it. Looking pretty good there, working on the tire. Overall, I must say, when you see yourself drawing sped up to 400%, it really looks quite remarkable. It's almost like the pencil is a printer and it's just like pouring out of it. Kind of cool. Anyway, when you're doing any sort of drawing, you definitely want to always be working from a reference. Speaking of references, there's my website, erichudson.com. Feel free to visit it. It's a bit out of date, but hey, it's a website. It's up. It's online. Kind of solidifying over some of my looser pencil lines. You always want to build up from a very light framework, get darker as you go. The darker lines being the more permanent ones, the ones that you'll eventually go over in ink. Focusing on some of the details. He's very weathered, very battered character. Doesn't look brand new, so we want to make sure and put in enough detail work to make him look like he's been outside for a while. And now we'll fudge in the background. I always like to keep the backgrounds loose. That way all the detail and all the focus goes on the main character. Working in some little details just to add a little bit of story to the card. Got a dead bandit maybe sitting in the road with a skag getting ready to feed on him. Skags are kind of like dogs in Borderlands, only they're horribly mutated, monstrous looking things. And now on to inking. So the whole process of inking, basically taking those lines that I like and making them permanent. Typically I use a 0.01, a 0.03, and a 0.05 for most of my card work. For extreme details, there's always the 0.005. And I think that's a Staedtler pen that I'm using now. I also use the Copic pens. Love those. They really have a good suitable tip on the end of them. And then I always also use microns. Microns are probably the more affordable of all the pens that I use. They're usually always on sale. If you've never seen me draw, you're probably noticing that my hands are really jacked up. They're horribly twisted from a disease called scleroderma. And here in the video you'll get another pop-up with a website for the Scleroderma Foundation. If you'd like to know more about what has caused that, you can start there and you can learn all about it. Oh hey, Facebook! Yes, you need to like me on Facebook. Eric Hodson Illustration. Just working in some of the details. Little things like threads on a pipe or some of the wires and little bits and scratches. I usually don't do that until I'm in ink. If it's something simple to imagine, there's no need to work it out necessarily always in pencil. Again, since these are going to be the final lines, these are the ones that we want to focus the most effort, most detail on. So there's always a little bit of extra detailing that goes into working on the ink lines. I rarely get a chance to even play video games hardly anymore. Not just because of my horrible malfigured hands from scleroderma. I use custom controllers that the buttons have been moved to the back of the controller, so it's easier for me to play. And unfortunately, when those are broken or just generally out of whack, I have to send them into the company that modified them for me, and that can take a long time to get those back. So I haven't actually been able to play Borderlands for quite some time. Put some detail work on the skag, maybe little pieces of corpse and the dead bandit laying out there in the road. And just some of the more anonymous details. Maybe there's like a banner for the Marcus guns. Just kind of fudge in an indication of that. Again, you don't want to focus too much on the details of the background. It's not necessary. Alright, here is the hair-raising erasing scene. Look at that, all those pencil lines going away. Oh, yeah, I guess it wasn't that hair-raising. Some final touch-ups. I think it's like a 0.8 micron. Always use the wider heads to getting the blacks in. Alright. Hey, color. And I must say the violets are ones that I go to an awful lot for background work. It really helps to push the background way back in the back. So I'm kind of going over it with mauve shadow and something a little bit darker than mauve shadow, just to kind of break it up into two planes. Just getting in some of those shadow elements. The mauve shadow color for Copic is probably one of my most used markers. It's used on everything. And then we got some Prismacolor brush markers. I really love those. Hey, you can follow me too. Apparently I Twitter. The cute little Twitter bird down there. More than likely it's just going to be a tweet of whatever I post on Facebook, so might as well follow me on Facebook too. Oh, and auctions. Like if I was going to put this guy on eBay, I'd tweet that. I'd tweet that like mad. Like, hey, you can come get your little Claptrap dude. Place a bid on it. I really hope that I'm being entertaining. I'm trying to. It always sounds better in my head, and then I come in and start talking, and I'm like, man, I just sound like a jerk. Look how filthy my desk is. What's up with that? Alright, laying in some of the main color. That's a yellow ochre I'm laying down. Yellow ochre, another essential color. If you buy any markers, you're going to have yellow ochre at some point. Great for flesh tones and just any sort of muted mud. I think that's an oatmeal that I got. That's the name of the color. And then of course cream. I use cream an awful lot too. It's really good for adding an ambient color. I don't really put too much thought. I just kind of like go with it whenever I start coloring. I mean, I know what colors I obviously want to use, but you really, once you get them laid down and you start layering them, then you kind of make different choices depending on that. And we'll work in some of the darker shadow area. His optical is kind of like recessed in, so we want to really shade into that and kind of make it look like it's sunk back a little bit behind that little flap that's flipped up, and really inside of it more. A lot of cool grays. I really like the cool gray colors, so I usually layer those quite a bit to add more depth to the piece. He's getting nearly done, almost ready to start annoying some treasure hunters. Fiverr. Hey, if you want to find me on Fiverr, my account is HeyMelvy, and you'll see all the gigs that I offer through Fiverr. And you can get a trading card just like this one, a little bit less detail, for $5. And if you want the detail, you can always, add another $5 or $10 and get massive amounts of detail. Typically, like something like this, I'd sell for, $15-20. It's got a lot of work into it. The $5 version of him would not have such a well-developed background, and I usually don't go in with colored pencil on the $5 ones either. I love those. When you go in with colored pencil with a marker, it just adds enough texture, gives it this rich look to it, and I don't know, it just helps it kind of make it a little bit more alive. And it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. We're getting some shadows of those background characters, laying a little bit more color back there. You'd be surprised what you can do with some of these colors. They blend so well. Here we are. We're near the end. I'm gonna break out the gel white and some of my Stabilo markers. Oh, there's some colored pencil. Really get that optic look like it's glowing. And add some of those light highlights. I really admire people who can leave white alone and that becomes the highlight. For some reason, I just cannot work that way. I always have to work, counterintuitively, get the whole thing covered with color, and then see where the highlights go. So, hey, if you're one of those guys who can leave white alone and it turns out great in the end, man, I envy you, because it's something I've not been able to foster. So, and some more colored pencil, just to kind of bring the wear and tear into him, make him look beat up, give some texture to the road. Darken that in a little bit, sink that further back into his head there. Looking pretty good. Well, this card is finished, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was entertaining at least. And until the next one, we'll see you later.